All right. Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Krame Center for Mindful Living. I'd like to welcome back those of you who are a regular part of our mindfulness community and meditation group. And I'd also like to offer a nice warm welcome to those of you who are joining us and who are new and who are here for the first time. So, just a little bit about us. We are a global nonprofit organization whose mission is to make the benefits of mindfulness, self compassion, and positive psychology accessible to all. Our goal here at the Krame Center is to help people become more resilient and live better lives through our various programs. We offer affordable pricing and scholarships, as well as these free weekly meditations. So, our theme for the months of May and June has been learning to love ourselves. And this week's particular theme is meeting difficult emotions. And so, I'd like to kick us off with a quote. This is a quote by Kelly McGonigal. And she says, "Self compassion, being supportive and kind to yourself, especially in the face of stress and failure, is associated with more motivation and better self control." And so today we're going to explore how to bring mindfulness and self compassion to difficult emotions. Difficult emotions are emotions that cause us pain, such as anger, fear, grief, despair, remorse, guilt, and shame. And they inevitably arise from conditions in our personal lives. But these difficult emotions also arise from social and cultural conditions. And self compassion really allows us to incline gradually toward emotional discomfort, and it helps us to accept emotional discomfort in stages. And so I'm going to share with you the 5 stages of acceptance. This is a framework that has been developed by psychologist Chris Germer. And so this framework that I'll be sharing helps us to deal with difficult emotions more effectively. So, the first stage is resistance, right? This is when we struggle against what comes. This is when we're really trying to push away what it is that we feel. And then the second stage is exploring. Exploring is turning toward discomfort with this sense of curiosity, right? Bringing this kind, curious lens to our experience. The third stage is tolerating. So, tolerating is safely enduring and holding steady in the midst of our emotional discomfort. The fourth of these stages is allowing, and allowing is letting our feelings come and go, right? We're allowing them to be. And finally, the fifth stage is befriending. So, befriending is about seeing the value in our experience. And each successive stage corresponds to a gradual release of emotional resistance. And so, this doesn't mean that we're accepting injustice. Rather, we're learning to hold pain itself, right? We're holding the pain itself that could turn toxic if we refuse to accept it. So, these 5 stages that I mentioned really give us the permission to engage with the most difficult emotions in our lives. And it allows us to do so in a gradual manner rather than diving headfirst, rather than diving right in. I also want to mention that it's important to remember that all emotions are part of life. And emotions only resolve themselves if we give them the ability to move through us. But it's also important to remember that we can choose to titrate the most difficult ones and we can go at our own pace, right? We have control over that. So, this is really about learning to hold pain in a whole new way so we aren't engulfed or overwhelmed by these difficult emotions. So, today in our meditation, we're going to practice meeting difficult emotions. And to do this, we're going to work with the difficult emotion, shame. And before we move into our meditation, I just want to touch upon shame very briefly. So, shame is a social emotion. Shame is really the self in the eyes of others. And when we experience shame, we often feel foolish. Sometimes we feel dumb or silly. Sometimes we feel helpless or weak or dependent or confused. When we experience shame, we might look away. We might hang our heads. Maybe we fake a smile. Perhaps we're fidgety. Maybe we blush. Perhaps we bite our lips, right? These are all things that we do and experience when we have the difficult emotion of shame present. And shame underlies many difficult emotions, such as anger, fear, and despair, which is why it's really a beneficial emotion to work with today. That's why we've chosen to work with it. I'd also like to share with you the three paradoxes of shame. And these paradoxes can help to take the sting out of shame just a little bit. So, shame, it often feels blameworthy, but it's actually an innocent emotion. Shame feels isolating, but it's a universal emotion, right? We all experience shame at one point or another. And lastly, shame feels permanent, but it's transitory, just like all other emotions that we experience. And these three paradoxes that I've shared correspond with the three components of self compassion. So they correspond with self kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. So, shame can really become something that's workable when we remember these insights. And today, that's what we're going to be practicing together. So, I'd like to now invite you to find yourself a comfortable seat, whatever that might mean for you in this particular moment. And then there's an invitation to close the eyes or soften the gaze. We're bringing our gaze inward. We're tuning in. Maybe taking a moment to notice the feet making contact with the floor. Perhaps sensing the earth beneath the feet. Likewise, maybe noticing the sits bones resting on the chair. Maybe feeling supported or held by the seat in some way. Maybe there's a sense of comfort in that. And if it feels right, maybe finding a little extra length in the spine, reaching through the crown of the head. You may wish to shrug your shoulders up to the ears briefly and then release them back down to the sides of the body, opening up the chest and the heart space. And so just continuing to settle in your meditation posture in any way that feels good and right for you. And as you continue to settle, maybe you become aware of the fact that your body's breathing as you sit here. And the invitation is to just gently rest your awareness on the breath in the body. So there's no need to change or manipulate the breath in any way, shape, or form. We're simply resting our awareness on the natural rhythm of the breath in the body. And so noticing one breath in, one breath out, another breath in, and another breath out. And just continuing to follow the breath in this way. Doing the very best that you can to stay with each breath, breath by breath, moment by moment. Just staying with the ebb and flow of the breath. Continuing to ride the waves of the natural breath cycle. Continuing to stay with our tried and true companion, that is the breath. And now I'd like to invite you to think of an event in your life, something clearly in the past when you felt embarrassed or mildly ashamed. So, for instance, maybe you were at a work meeting and it was pointed out that your performance was not as strong as that of a colleague's. Or maybe you complained about someone in an email and then accidentally sent it to them, right? So, just calling such a situation to mind when you felt embarrassed or mildly ashamed. And as you're calling something to mind, please be sure not to choose something terribly difficult, but in the mild to moderate range. So, taking some time, maybe many things are coming up, but just settling on one. And once you've chosen one, allowing yourself to drop into this situation, right? Recalling all of the details of this particular experience. Who was there? What happened? What was said? Just reliving this experience in your mind's eye. And now remembering how you felt at the time. How did you feel? Really notice how embarrassment or shame feels in your body. Maybe it's a pit in the stomach, a tightness in the chest, a clenching of the jaw. Right? How do you feel shame or embarrassment in your body? And now try labeling the experience for yourself in a kind and gentle way. Ah, shame. This is how shame feels. And now seeing if you can look a little bit more closely in and discover where you feel the shame the most in your body. So, finding that one particular place where you feel shame the most in your body. And just allowing your experience to be as it is, perhaps making just a little bit more room than usual for this experience of shame in your body. And maybe just making a little bit more space for it. And knowing that what you're experiencing right now, it's part of the human experience. So everyone feels shame. And anyone would likely feel as you did in the same exact situation. You might also be feeling isolated and alone at this moment. That's the nature of shame, right? It's isolating. But truly, what you're experiencing right now is similar to everyone else here. Shame is a universal emotion. And I'd like you to consider for a moment that you only feel like this because you, just like everyone else on this planet, just want to be loved or to be appreciated or to belong, whatever word fits for you. Shame happens because we want so much to be loved and appreciated by others. And is it possible right now to connect with that wish, this wish beneath the experience of shame? Can you give yourself permission to do so? And now let's see if we can respond to shame in a new way. So, can you give yourself some kindness simply because you're having a moment of shame? If it feels right, perhaps placing a hand on the part of the body that you feel shame the most. Perhaps sending kindness through your fingers into that part of your body that's holding the shame for you. Or if you'd like, maybe gently rubbing that part of your body. And if it's helpful, perhaps offering yourself some kind and caring words. If you'd like, you can imagine a dear friend who found themselves in the same embarrassing situation as you. What would you say to comfort or support your friend? And can you say the same words to yourself? Can you offer yourself the same words of kindness, care, and compassion? Maybe you'd even like to whisper these words into your own ear. These words that you so deserve to hear. And now gently letting these words fade away into the background, coming back to the breath and the body once again. So gently resting the awareness on the breath in the body once more. And just following a few breath cycles. Just allowing yourself to rest in your own experience. Letting the practice that we just did be just as it was. And giving yourself permission to be just as you are right now, in this moment. And I'm going to offer the poem Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, the mountains, and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese high in the clean blue air are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. And so just taking a moment to let those words land if they resonate with you. And when you're ready, just beginning to wiggle fingers and toes, bringing some slight and gentle movements back into the body once again. In your own time, allowing your eyes to open. Maybe taking any other additional or exaggerated movements that feel good in your body in this moment. And I'd like to conclude us with a weekly invitation, as we always do here. And my invitation for you this week is to pause during a difficult moment and offer yourself a mini self compassion break, which is what we did today. So start by recognizing your difficulty, right? This is the mindfulness component of it. And then remember that you're not alone, that everyone experiences difficult emotions at one point or another. This is the common humanity piece of self compassion. And lastly, offer yourself some kindness, whether through a soothing or supportive touch or kind, compassionate, and encouraging words. So I'd like to thank you all for your practice. It was so wonderful to come together today in community and practice with one another. I'd like to wish you a wonderful week ahead. Be well and take good care of yourselves, everyone. We'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.